I hit the go live button by accident. I was going to hit the take a picture button, but I hit the go live button. I guess at the end of this, we'll have to take the picture then, maybe. We're like not quite even set up yet. We're like sort of setting up, kind of, sort of.
We're in the in-between
We're
space.
sort of, kind of setting up, but not quite set up. We're getting there.
We're in the space between.
We're like that song. Wasn't there a song? The space between song?
How do I get
what are you trying to do? Hey, stop messing with me.
I'm getting there, right?
No, please stop what you're doing. Whatever you're doing, it's a bad idea.
I was literally just pressing tab.
What's up, Ryan? Yeah, sound check.
That looks right.
So here we're gonna roll into this here. All right.
Unprepared.
We're not unprepared. We have notes.
Unprepared
we have show notes. We have show notes.
We have show notes, but we weren't prepared to start at that time.
Let's just double check. I don't have any questions this week. It's a low week of there's no questions week, so that'll mean we won't go off the rails for a half an hour. So that's a positive. I wish this was dark too. This is dark. This isn't dark. Dark. This is better lighting than
Wait,
this.
Go back to that.
This. Okay.
The email.
The email.
Click the X. It's been annoying me, and I keep forgetting to.
Okay, but I'm trying to say it'd be great. Okay, hi, I'm James.
I'm Cooper,
and this is Living for Crits, and this is Sunday Shadowdark Show, and we are live and stuff. And I know it's Shadowdark. I did put the BattleTech thing here because I mean, if anyone follows us on Instagram, you could see the giant massive amount of swag for BattleTech that showed up this week. It's a lot of stuff, and everything. So tonight we are like. Probably 97 point. I wasn't going to make this the topic this week, but we titled this week the politics and social interaction show ahead of this week coming up, being a political week, right? So there was some comments here. KW here put, I thought of a better suggestion than daylight savings time as a theme for the show. You mentioned election day coming up, but without it being a show about politics, or about a theme around a Shadowdark political intrigue, adventure, or campaign, or just social encounters in general and how to handle it in Shadowdark. And we are covering social encounters en masse here. I literally went through the book today and grabbed everything social out of this thing to talk about. Okay, everything social.
Everything.
From abilities to magical items. Yes.
Everything.
And
sure.
Yep. So let's do this. Let's move into this show here. We had some comments already. Paul says a friend ran Ravenloft on Shadowdark for Halloween, and it was amazing. Strahd was vanquished, and my witch was dope as hell. The witch is a cool class. You've not seen. No, you have seen the witch. Akash has played the witch in the game, so you've seen the witch
in the campaign that lasted 5 sessions.
No. He played the witch as his last character in the campaign before killing Scorch. Remember? Because he had the person that could rain frogs on people.
Forgot about that.
You remember that? Yeah. All right. Speaking of like Ravenlofty stuff, and last week I said I'm not about vampires. I may have purchased something this week, and it arrived. And I know it's vampires, but it looks so cool I couldn't knock it. I didn't own any old school adventures, published adventures. So I did buy Halls of the Blood King by Jogo Nogueira. I'm probably butchering the name. But this is a vampire adventure, I believe. I know it is because there's vampires in the back, but it looked different. So I know lots of folks have this already. It was on sale over on Exalted Funeral, so I had to pick it up. Although with shipping, it wasn't very saley. The other thing that happened this week was we've kicked off Hot Springs Island yesterday. And we played for a few hours. And Cooper, any feedback you want to give so far in Hot Springs Island?
It's good.
Well, I mean, more than it's good. Like, how do you feel about the crawling mechanics?
I mean, they're similar to Shadowdark because it is Shadowdark. So
yes, they are similar to Shadowdark.
I mean, I don't know what I'm going after there. It's just
fair.
It's Shadowdark.
Fair point. So a couple things I really like.
And also, if someone's gonna play, I'm not gonna say it.
Someone's gonna what?
If someone's gonna play it, I'm not gonna say anything.
That's a good point. Cooper, how did you feel about overland exploration? You guys explored 2 hexes.
I mean, I feel like it was pretty easy to get the hang of. The fact that you can just go around and search things
wherever you want. Yeah, it is an open world. It's kind of reminded me as a GM, if I was a player, it'd feel to me kind of like playing Skyrim nowadays or playing Legend of Zelda when I first got that in like 87 or 88. Just the experience of it's a completely open place. You've never seen it before.
That happened with
go anywhere you want.
Wild too.
Yeah, absolutely. After you get past that opening part where you're kind of trapped. Yeah. One thing I really liked.
Same thing happened with Tears of the Kingdom. Both of them are good.
One thing I really liked about the game is the watch system, how every 4-hour watch is easily tracked with tokens on the board. And the game recommends you use these. Hey, Jason, you use these chips, right? So that you start the day on a red chip. That's dawn, like so 6 to 10 a.m. And every 4-hour watch. So it's red, white, red evening, and then black night. Every watch, it takes a watch to travel, and it takes a watch to explore, essentially. And we sort of merged in some of the Shadowdark initiative into the watch structure. The two blended together really, really well. So I thought that was fantastic. And we play again this coming Saturday. One thing that I really loved, and I have been a person that takes notes by computer for years, and I wanted for this game to have, my hope is that our experiences collectively in the Hot Springs Island between now, and I'd like to run this for a while, I can put them all in this book, which I purchased at the Renaissance Festival. And in here is where I'm going to put the notes for, players and characters. And I took several pages of notes in here. So it says what hexes they've been to, what we rolled,
nice.
Who they met. I do. Yeah, it's really
and also
pretty
the
cool.
Top is soft. It's like weirdly soft.
I kind of wish I had day 2 here and not over on a new page, but it's okay.
I mean, it makes more sense. You like logging it out based off of pages.
Paul says sandbox hex crawls have some very specific procedural and content table demands. My favorite style of those are implemented well. Dolmenwood. Dolmenwood arrives for me next year, at least the imprint, as it does, I think, for all of us, right? So pretty geeked for that. But I think my OSE group will be exploring that when that comes out. But we've had our share of hex crawling. I know that one of the upcoming Cursed Scrolls that Kelsey's working on is going to have more hex crawling. The one that has the Ranger class in there featured. So more to come on hexes. All right, so let's shift over. This might be a shorter episode tonight, just because I'm just gonna check one more time. There are no questions in the question box. You can always send questions to Cooper pinned at shadowdarksundays@gmail.com. At shadowdarksundays@gmail.com is where you can send questions. You can't talk over me though. It doesn't sound great on there. So one of us is talking, the other has to take a break and not talk. So anyway, it is now pinned. All right. Topic for tonight: politics and social interactions in game. And you can have your book out if you wish as we go through this. And this is just all of the ways that you can play with social stuff in the game, and how you can social interactions in Shadowdark can take place both in and out of combat, right? So, and in combat, we looked at like random encounters and morale, and out of combat, we looked at some other features of it. I think our group at home tends to be a very chatty group. And I have the notes on Flinger.
Sometimes chatty in a good way, sometimes chatty in a...
I don't mean your players. I mean the characters themselves, not the players. The players are a whole different animal sometimes. All right. So first off, how do social interactions work in Shadowdark? And if you look up random encounters in your book, and those are on page 112, you will see that if you're doing an encounter in random, you're first off, after you figure out starting distance, you have the creature you've rolled, and you're going to take a look, and you're going to see if someone in the party is interacting with the creature, you're going to roll a reaction check. It's 2d6 plus a charisma modifier. Okay. And that can get you something. If it's the person who's interacting is a great charisma or the roll is high, you might get a friendly creature. And so not every encounter needs to be something that the party is facing off with to kill. Actually, we saw that when we played this weekend, that the reaction of the ogres the party saw was that it was neutral. They didn't see the party and they were just doing their thing. So the party stayed clear of them. If remember,
I bushed.
You covered everyone in bushes. That's right.
I bushed us.
And you kept everyone hidden like a ranger should. Remember Flinger the Dust Devil though? Remember Flinger?
The guy we essentially made him mortal and turned into a god.
Yes. So Flinger. So don't miss out on the role-playing opportunities here. These NPCs that can be generated through reaction checks really encourage your players to, if it's curious or friendly, if it's curious especially or neutral, to move it up the chart. What can they get? And when you guys face off with Flinger, the Dust Devil, that Dust Devil, despite having a low intelligence, became a very valuable member of the party. You guys used him in a siege battle, right? What? What's so funny?
I'm reading the show notes. I'm seeing in the last.
I know, but yes, but you can talk about it before you get to that bullet point. That's the whole thing. Anyway, if you're a beloved air elemental creature, and when it died and the players later got a wish, they wished to see Flinger return to life. And Flinger became like sort of a demigod of a town. And that was its own problem.
He wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
He was a problem for the people
for the town. Yeah.
Not a problem for us.
So off the bat, social interaction in combat, you can deal with reaction checks. Other thing is morale. If you're running Shadowdark and you are feeling you're killing your PCs too frequently, make sure you're playing morale right. Whenever enemies are reduced to half their number, if it's a squad of enemies, or if it's a solo monster that's reduced to half its hit points, they need to start making wisdom checks or they flee. That's the morale check. Large groups make a roll with the leader's modifier. And, what's a large group? That's, I would say, like a dozen kobolds, would be a large group. Anything bigger than that for sure. Maybe even a squad of 8 goblins or orcs, possibly.
Or like 4 knights or something.
I don't think 4 knights is a large group.
Yeah, but we're if 4 of some armored things.
If you have a leader and you have at least a half a dozen things out there, you should consider using the leader's modifier because that's what the leader's doing. But when a morale check has failed, there should be an opportunity for the PCs to take advantage of that. And maybe if the PCs want to ask for surrender, that's a good time to ask for surrender. I think that's something you guys did as well at the same encounters in the same hex crawl in the Red Sands, where you got the surrender of all of those bandits and took over their encampment. Like, you didn't have to fight them down to the last man. It was until they realized they were done and some of them gave up and started serving you all. So in combat, you have random encounters and you have reactions and you have morale. Outside of Jason's got a comment. I had a party in Otherscape attempt to socially interact with a nanite cloud that almost threw me, but the results were hilarious. My wife once tried to, in game, there was a giant snake monster or worm monster that she tried to become pals with. This is a Numenera years ago and had amazing, I think she rolled a 20, which was a major effect on the die roll. They were pals, but it was a main boss of the game, so I had to be careful how we dealt with that.
So she referred to me like a boss?
A boss monster. But it didn't matter because they didn't finish the campaigns. They never dealt with it. But it would have been funny. Paul says, this is where Kelsey's design is so exceptional. Super efficient procedure and location-specific random event tables. A certain giant Seattle company's latest Game Master's book lacks this. Yeah, I will say when you roll an encounter, as we did this past week, you have a lot of things you can roll in here. Do not have to be combat. If you roll, and they're all give you a lot of descriptions to work with. Like 2d6 rangy wolves snap at the PCs and retreat out of reach. It's an encounter where the things are fleeing. 2d6 muddy kobolds leap out and demand a passing toll. A shimmering unicorn steps out into a beam of sunlight. And then you have the wandering merchant pops up out of a rotten tree stump. Lots of things occur that don't have to be combat.
You could have an orc chieftain give a
fiery speech to 2d12 cheering orcs. That's a forest encounter. So you roll, and so a social encounter, but you'd roll that. An orc chieftain gives a fiery speech to 2d12 cheering orcs. Then PC walks forward. Your character walks forward and talks to them.
You have
gives a roll.
Orcs.
You give a roll. You roll a 12. Your charisma is not so great, so it reduces to a curious. And they're like, "Are you going to be into this speech as well? Maybe, maybe not. If you are, now you're communicating with orcs and you're talking, and this isn't a fight." So I agree, Paul. I think the fact the encounters each give some flavor text is awesome. Jason's considering using Shadowdark with Crown and Skulls, unmapped dungeon mechanic. That's the Runehammer game, right? So that we have access to this Runehammer store. Man, I keep seeing that book on the shelf. It looks pretty cool. All right. So outside of combat, there are so many options. Jason says yes, Runehammer. So many options for using for dealing with social settings. First and foremost, every character in the game has languages. And I think there's too many RPGs where the GM just glosses over the importance of languages. Number one, a good note is GMs, I think, should take note of what languages every player reads. That way, when someone's speaking something weird, you're not saying, "Hey, does anyone speak elf?" Or "What does everyone speak?" I think it sounds better if you say, you hear a weird, if you know no one speaks Elven, and you say there's this language and it sounds like a melodic, almost like the speech sounds like melodic singing. Those who've never heard Elven will be like, "Wow, what could that be?" It's more interesting. Or if they hear,
I speak Orcish.
Well, yes, but if someone didn't speak Orcish, though, then you could say it was some weird guttural, almost like Klingon language, from Star Trek. Yeah.
Not really.
I know. We don't watch Star Trek, but,
Never seen it at all in the first place.
You've never seen it at all. All right. So you do have stats, and I would say that you could have players try to use their stats to role play or to interact socially. They could use strength to intimidate, intelligence to recall applicable facts from the past, or charm people, or apply disguises with charisma. But I think this is one of those places where you really press the characters to not have to roll, or at the very least, don't make the bard roll for all of this, since it is one of the bard's skills, is they have advantage of any rolls required with this. Which is like a thief or another character searching something should not have to roll every single time. If the players describe the scene really well, then what about the Jadoon from Doctor Who? Those are the ones where everything was like, "Yo, bo, no, so, loco," that, right? That was the Jadoon, wasn't it?
What? I was with them.
Wasn't it? Like that?
I don't know. I haven't watched it.
Everything was "oh" with the pronunciation.
So it's like "oh, bo, mo."
Yes.
Low,
yes.
So.
Yes.
Joe.
The next thing I think that we need to make sure we aren't skipping as Shadowdark GMs is backgrounds. Backgrounds. So many backgrounds. So many backgrounds in this game sound like they would be more helpful for skills. So, for instance, sailor. You're on the high seas. Let him roll with advantage if he's trying to steer their ship out of a storm. You know what? You're a wizard's apprentice, and maybe we'll give you a bonus to your roll trying to figure out what this weird alchemical tincture is on the shelf. But how does a street urchin help you?
You probably have a lot of good communication skills by trying to convince
because you're
people.
Begging and you have to live in the streets.
You have to try and convince people to give you money.
Yep, and I think that would be right there. I would let that, if you're dealing with like the lower class,
like if you're in a town and you're trying to convince them to do something.
Yep, I think I would let a street urchin do that.
Like if there's a merchant on the side of the thing,
just like on the far end of that. On the far end of that, if it's with higher class folks, I'd say noble lets you do that. Because otherwise, what's that give you? And then in the middle, you have like the Thieves Guild if you're interacting with them, or minstrel if you're singing, dancing, and you're trying to be positive in the communicative ways. Ryan said, I heard you got a supplement to create unique backgrounds. We did. Cooper, you can go grab that. Why don't you go over there? So Shadowdark shelves. Shadowdark to the left, the furthest left. Life paths. Yes. So Ryan, this did arrive. And I think this would be a place if you want to mess around with life paths. So this is a supplement that I picked up a while back. It's designed by Daniel James, edited by Elise James. This is life paths. What this was, we played with this a while back, where it would let you roll up a path, and it's a little dense, I will say. Having played with this a few times now, and the fact that there are some outcomes that give you some mechanics, for instance, some are pretty powerful. Like, you roll really well as a priest, you could end up with a free luck token each session, which I think is a pretty potent kind of benefit. But there also are some negatives as well you could end up with. So but that said, this is a book that if you wanted more in-depth characters, I think especially if you're playing a pulp game and if you're trying to use Shadowdark for high adventure and you're going for pulp and you're letting the characters be more less squishy than more of your traditional OSR games are, this is a great book for that. But it gives you lots of opportunities to have your character interact with individuals and have some benefits. All right. Spells. There are some spells that sort of force the issue of social interaction. So I looked up 7 in particular that I think in a social sequence would be helpful. Alter self, not just good for creating gills and claws. You could look like someone else and be like, you can take on their appearance completely.
Like if there was someone like high up and you need to get into a special location, you could like clone someone that like looks
Boop,
like
you're
person,
them now.
And
now
you can get in there.
Charm person. For 1d8 days, you have a pal, and that pal is going to be doing your bidding and helping you out. Illusion. Set the perfect scene in a near-sized cube. Maybe you could make someone think they're in another area, or you could use it subtly. I think illusion is one of those spells that's so open-ended that the player can be really creative with that spell. It's one of my favorite spells in Shadowdark because it's so loose. In other D&D style games, other D20 games, there's all kinds of illusions. I like that it's a real clear cut. I think it's a 3rd level spell, very clear. Detect thoughts. Know the immediate thoughts of the person you're speaking with. That should help you with your negotiations. Sending lets you communicate from afar. Let's say that the person in the party that has the highest charisma is not the spellcaster, but has to go in alone into a scene. The spellcaster can get information to them through the sending spell. Zone of truth. Why not have the gift of certainty, right? Yeah, I stole that line from this California Psychics thing. So on the radio, there's this California Psychics, celebrate the joy of certainty with these California Psychics. That's not a commercial. I don't believe in psychics, but I'm like, I thought it was an interesting take. So zone of truth, you know what the person means. And then finally, if you've ever seen the D&D movie, Speak with Dead's in the book. I think it's a little less powerful though. Speak with like 5 questions, I think, in the movie. Am I right?
In the movie, it's 3.
Is it 3?
Yeah.
I
think it's also 3 in here. It's either 3 or 1.
3 questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew.
And it's yes or no questions 3. Only though.
I mean, it was all, and then in the movie, it wasn't. It was. You
can I think
yes or no questions makes it a bit more, like.
It makes it faster.
It makes it faster, and also makes it a bit more reasonable.
Yeah.
You could ask it literally anything. I'm like.
All right, so
did
magic? I just checked the questions.
Did the inbox get Gmail get like an update as we were doing this? Because I don't remember those things being on the side.
I don't know. Maybe they did. Maybe not. All right, magic items. There were 4 magic items I saw that really you could say were involved some kind of social something. Dagger of the Goblin Hero. I don't ever remember seeing this. It's a +1 dagger, and all goblinoids react friendly to you when you have them.
Seems useful.
I think so too. Yeah, I think I kind of want to put that in a game. Helm of Mind Reading.
Maybe we can
Helm
get
of
it.
Mind Reading. Detect thoughts 3 times a day with a +4 bonus, like a spell. Anyone can wear it. Potion of Forgetfulness. Enough said. And Shield of the Lion. Another thing I don't think we ever played with. +1 shield once a day. Force all hostile creatures in a near range to make a morale check.
Sounds like it'd look cool.
Like a lion that roars. So
I can see the Potion of Forgetfulness coming in handy in some situations.
spiking someone's drink with it. Or
Maybe you could find someone that needs like a password to get into a thing, and then you can make them forget it, and then if you want to get in, but like you figure out the code, and then you give them the Potion of Forgetfulness,
and they forgot they interacted with you.
No, and then so you find out the code,
Okay.
and then you give them the Potion of Forgetfulness. Then
Okay.
they forget the code, and you're like, "If you help us, we'll give you the code." And then you do that, and then
a
you
very
give them the code.
specific situation. This whole code thing.
It's the first thing that came to my mind.
Jason says, I once played a crab bushi in Legend, that means warrior, in Legend of the Five Rings. She didn't speak for the first 6 months. It enabled the joker of our group to say things like, what do you think to the plan? And Jason, silence. Yes, it does lack subtlety. So were you like a crab person? I've never played Legend of the Five Rings, so I'm not quite sure if like you were actually a crab. Were you a really like a crab thing? There was a crab.
That seems fun.
There's a whole crab ancestry in.
You got crab hands.
In 50 Fathoms, a Savage Worlds game where it's called a Scurillion, where you are like a walking hermit crab with like a pirate hat and like a pistol. I think it's pretty cool.
He's got like these two like
special pistol. All right,
it's actually made so that you can like pinch. That's
sort of, I think we've covered every place that social interactions can happen in Shadowdark. The when it comes to politics in Shadowdark, I guess combine all of that into your game in some way and let the characters really play on I would say the thing I would add to all of this would be factions and faction scores and ranking systems for how many you could use points, you could use favors, but take note of how many favors or points the players have with each faction. And I think as you get to middle level play or upper level play in Shadowdark, that was something that the old school games really had with the Dominion level play at 9th level and above. You start to get your own kingdoms and stuff. And I know that in 3rd edition that died off, but I remember playing 4th edition up to 30th level and really kind of missing all of that. And then we went back to when I flipped over to Dungeon Crawl Classics, the players themselves started to like come up with thoughts for that as time went on. Ryan, the Shucked Oyster adds some interesting mechanics for social interactions. So that's again one of those books that I probably will steer clear of for the one of that's not quite the kid friendliest book out there. Mm-hmm. Not this is a made for kids video, but that's for another time and conversation.
I'm a teenager.
You're a teenager. Still an uncomfortable book. Yeah, that's okay. Paul says, yes, factions are one significant thing is missing from Shadowdark. Has anyone asked Kelsey about adding this as a cursed scroll? I think it would be a great addition to the cursed scroll, to a cursed scroll. It's one of those things I think you could introduce before high level play. You don't need to go over 10th level to enjoy factions in Shadowdark. It could be as simple at 1st level or 2nd level. The party, does a mission for the local church, and boom, that church of Ord, possibly you have a faction point over there. And as you gain more faction points, maybe you can add that modifier to a multiplier, possibly to any earn gold. Like I would say something like for every point of loyalty to a faction, maybe you get 10% more earned treasure if you do adventures for them.
And maybe like if there's like ever a way to get higher than 10th level, like level like 20 or something, you could have it so that it gives you more XP for different items.
Yeah, for sure. And Paul, I wasn't like, I'm sorry, Ryan, I wasn't like poo-pooing the book or anything like that. I just, just trying to steer clear of It's one of those weird ones, like when it came out, that was like, I don't know how I can cover that one, except for saying it was a Kickstarter that was out there and showing folks where they could get it if they wanted to get it.
Anyways, here's where you can get.
All right. So Jason says the Krabbushi were human samurai who guarded the Great Wall. In real history, the Chinese government told people that the Great Wall was to keep the demons out. In game, it is really to keep the demons out. That's interesting. I've never done Legend of the Five Rings. It looked cool.
Probably 5 rings.
It's probably 5 rings. You're right, Cooper.
Probably in a legend too.
So yeah, I think that, and Paul saying factions could affect carousing roles. I really want to do more work on creating more carousing tables. That is something I think I would love to see a big book of tables for carousing in different areas and different parts of towns and stuff. If I had more time, I would create it myself, or at least create more charts. I think that was one of my favorite things about Lankmar, is that the carousing table was robust. So but there was a lot of opportunity for terrible things to happen, but it was very robust. And everything you rolled, there were sub rolls within everything. So it did offer a lot of opportunities. And then there was a separate carousing table in one of the books for if you were playing outside of Lankmar up in the forest to the north. So, all right. So I think we've covered social stuff. I think
we've gone through
moving to wrapping up.
We've gone through all the stuff in combat, all the stuff without combat.
Yep. And now we're going to the questions from the void. Is there anything from the chat we missed, and anything from previous comments?
And have we gotten any emails in the 2 minutes?
I don't think we have, but you can look.
Nope.
Third-party carousing supplements. You know what? If anyone could share with me the ones that exist out there. I've only heard that they're throwing the few in shucked oyster, but I wouldn't mind seeing where else they are out there. I have not played around with could the Lankmar ones work or not if I pulled them over. I almost made some custom ones by stop because we're busy. Lots of stuff going on. And from the gaming perspective, like what?
Well, luckily we have a week off of band.
It's true.
Hopefully. We don't know if we win the next game, then
you aren't the one that has to work on this crap, though. It's like I have to work on this.
But I'm kind of the one that
you're not going to write a carousing table.
Yeah, but I'm the one messing up the whole schedule of games. So
no, your schedule of games affects the Shadowdark game. The old school Essentials game could still happen on Tuesday nights.
That's fine. But if you do anything,
but this is an OSC show.
Shadowdark related.
It's fair. We did pause our OSE game this week because of the election. We're not going to throw that on at the exact same time because it's just too much going on. All right. So Ryan says Shadow Sun is on sale right now on Drive-Thru RPG for their 13 hours. If you have a chance to take a look at Shadow Sun, definitely go grab it. We are using it. Well, I used it for some materials. He's getting a night off tonight because this is the only part we're worried about. He's actually getting a break. We're skipping that part. We're skipping this part. We're just going to do this part. So you can put this part back. Yeah, he's getting a reprieve. Yeah.
Well, he got stabbed anyways. No, he fell.
You can keep him out.
He's dead.
We used it for our Dark Sun conversion. Or I alluded to it several times. I'll get AI. No, please don't. I am very not a fan of AI. So I appreciate the people that enjoy AI, but I would rather not have those. I would rather put the work on those than have them AI'd. Sorry. Just one of those things that there's not a lot that I feel super strongly on, but the AI stuff, I understand for it does its thing, but that stuff scares the living hell out of me still. All right, so let's wrap up here. You can send questions to Shadowdarksundays@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to answer more questions next week. I think next week is maybe going to be the Ranger show. You'll have had 2 games with the Ranger. We can at least talk about the Ranger
a little bit,
and the Ranger at first level. And
we can talk about enough to the point where I can have some thoughts on it.
Yes. So next week is going to be Rangers. I'm hoping over the holidays to run a gauntlet, by the way, and be able to do a gauntlet show.
What's a gauntlet?
It's a 0 level funnel with Shadowdark.
Maybe we can do that every Thanksgiving break.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, maybe a Thanksgiving based one.
Maybe we can have some of your friends come over and do it.
We could maybe do that. All right. So upcoming events and cons. Next Runehammer game is on December 22nd. It's a Sunday. It's from 1 p.m. to like 4:30 p.m. There are a few seats open. So I think there's 3 seats taken and there's 4 seats open. So if you are in the Philly area and you want to game with me over there, I'll be running Shadowdark at the Runehammer store. And if you hear about other crowdfunding things out there, please share them with us. You could drop them into the comments below. You can post them to us on, we have a little thing on the Arcane Library server. I'd like kind of peek in there and have a Shadowdark Sundays like discussion, like thread in there. So if you see that, you want to plop something in there, you can. Or you can email them to us. That works too. And let's see here. So thank you all for joining. Thanks for chatting with us and hanging out, everybody. You know, Ryan, Jason, KW, Paul, lots of folks this week. We really appreciate you hanging out with us. Definitely the interaction, it really makes for a different kind of experience. And I think it adds to the show for sure. So, Bob Brinkman is a crowdfunding for a time traveling lich adventure. Do you have, is there a link? Can you put the link in the comments? Is that possible? And that guy, Ryan, backed it. Bob's a good dude.
That guy backed it.
Bob is a good dude. We spent a lot of time with Bob. We've hung out with Bob and his wife Jen at Disney World. They were so much fun.
Such a random place.
And Paul says, sharp, concise show. Yeah, we didn't run off the rails with lots of questions, but we love the questions when they come in, by the way. So it's not in there. So
we just went off the rails a little bit.
A little bit. All right. So anyone, again, thank you so much for joining. Thanks for hanging out. And Sam says our Shadowdark over Harn campaign saw a lot of destruction today with the party fighting star vampires.
Sky sharks?
Trowbridge was destroying sky sharks.
Are like flying sharks?
I think sky sharks. I think we're going to wrap it at sky sharks here. All right. Thank you all for joining, and until next time, vote. Good night, everybody.